Lecture 36, Course Review. All right, we've come to the end of the course. Normally, in a course review lecture, I might spend some time going over some topics that we have previously covered, and it would be an opportunity to ask some questions about things that you are unclear about, or just generally to wrap up anything that has gone on if for some reason we haven't kept to our lecture schedule in terms of time for whatever reasons. Then we might use this space to finish off a couple of things that would otherwise have not had time. But of course, this is an online term and there's videos and everything, so you can just rewatch any video, any section of any video that you like. And so if you don't quite recall what I said way back when about crossbeam, or if software transactional memory is still kind of fuzzy for you, it's super easy to go back and not feel like, oh no, I missed it, and this is my opportunity to ask again. So I'll tell you a little bit about the exam or final assessment, or however it is you want to think about it. And unlike your typical course, it's not as high pressure a situation as it would usually be. But the exam questions will be based on things that we've done in the lectures and assignments, and it's cumulative in the sense that anything that took place in the course will be in scope, meaning assignments 1 through 4, as well as all the things that we talked about here in the lectures. This can mean, of course, that there will be some programming questions and also some written questions, and there will probably be a mix of both. So preparing for the final exam, there's notes you can review, there's slides, review some assignments. In particular, if you didn't manage to get something working, this is an opportunity to go back and try to correct it and see if you can figure it out, given a little bit more time, or given some fresh perspective, or just taking away the pressure of other things that you might now have the opportunity and the knowledge needed to correct whatever was wrong in your assignment. There are some old exams. If you take a look at previous exams that were written on paper in the pack kind of exams, they maybe aren't as instructive for what this is going to look like, although they will help to some degree with written questions, because the old exams were open book, open notes, just no communication devices. And if you're unclear about something, if there's a video where it's just not obvious what I'm talking about and you don't understand the topic, even though we've gone over it and you've watched the video and you've read the notes and it's still kind of a mystery, then by all means ask on Piazza for help. I do on occasion reshoot a segment of a video if somebody points out, hey, I really had trouble following you here, could you please go back and explain this a different way or a better way, or something like that, then no shame in admitting that the video is not necessarily perfect on the first go. So if you do have questions, if you're really unsure, don't feel shy about asking for help. When you're actually doing the exam, taking the time to read the question carefully is very helpful. At the time of recording, it's shortly after the final assessment in my second year course in a previous term, and I got a lot of questions emailed to me, even though there was a no questions policy, which were easily answerable if people would only read the description of the desired behavior and pay careful attention to what it asks you to do. And so reading the question carefully will really give you the information that you need to make it work, keeping in mind also that very rarely is a piece of information presented in a question if it doesn't serve some purpose. For number 2, you can use point form instead of full sentences on written questions. There's no need to be super grandiosely eloquent on every single one. Give us the answer quickly and concisely, and we like that as a marker. Number 3 is test your code. This was not a thing when you're writing the exam by hand, obviously, but if you are doing it in an online term and you have the opportunity to compile your code and run it, the expectations for marking are quite different. we do expect to compile your code and run it, and if it doesn't compile, that's a big problem. And if it crashes, panics, otherwise encounters major issues when it's running, again, your mark for that question will not be very good. In the past, students used to tell me, we really wish that it was possible to, do the coding questions, on the computer, typing them somehow, have the compiler. That way there's no worries about, missing a semicolon or reversing the order of arguments or something. And to some extent, that wish is granted, just, through a global pandemic. So careful what you wish for. But that kind of thing is double-edged as benefit and drawback. The benefit is that, yes, you do have the advantage of having the compiler check your work, and you do have extra tools at hand, and you could Google something if you really needed. But on the other hand, expectations for marking are higher. If your code doesn't compile, if it doesn't work, if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, then that is going to result in more mark deduction than it would have if you wrote it by hand, because you did have the opportunity to compile it and test it and actually see if it works, and if you identified any issues, correct them accordingly. The other thing I recommend is checking your code for issues reported by Valgrind and also Helgrind. Again, in Rust, this is less of a concern than it was in C or C++ or similar. However, the checks on correctness of your program are still worth doing. And the last piece of advice is if you're stuck on a particular question, it might be advisable to just put it down for the moment and do another one. It's there's the possibility that this will be a more efficient strategy because sort of in the background your subconscious will continue to work on a particular question if you are stuck, and you can come back to it. And also because we do have a limited time window in which to do the exam, make the most efficient use of your time that you can. And coming up, something that I say to my second-year students.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
But you're in fourth year now, so actually you could say this instead.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
And the thought that I want to leave you with, as most of you will be graduating and going on to your future career, is that the future, although in the time of a pandemic might seem kind of dark, really could be bright. And when you go out in the world, whether you are going into industry or graduate studies or anything like that, I want you to remember that it isn't all over, and not everything has been invented. The human adventure is truly just beginning. This quote by Gene Roddenberry is perhaps one of the most optimistic quotes that you might ever hear come from me. The future can be bright if we make it that way. So I wish you all the best in whatever comes next for you. And if you're ever up to anything exciting, send me an email and say hello.
See you